In a country so dependent on coffee, it's hard to imagine that one day we may not have any.
How many cups of coffee do you usually drink a day?
I guess it depends on how you define a cup.
I drink about 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day.
I'm at 3.
Yeah, I'm probably 3 or 4.
Americans drink an average of a little over 3 cups a day.
Do you know where your coffee comes from?
Grocery store.
I admit that I don't know a lot about that.
Probably not as much as I should.
I would guess Brazil, but I don't know.
I would say it's all over the place because usually I tend to buy Starbucks and sometimes it's Ethiopia and sometimes it's South America and who knows.
That means 400 million cups of coffee per day, making the United States the leading consumer of coffee in the world.
We're kind of on a deadline right now for the longevity of really delicious specialty Arabica coffee. We are in an era right now when climate change and the sustainability of how we're living is actually starting to affect our ability to grow and to find new Arabica varieties.
A study led by London's Royal Botanic Gardens warns the most consumed coffee species, Arabica, could be extinct by 2080.
Finding a more sustainable and a more responsible way to go about growing and processing coffee is just the right thing to do.
Ryan Soder and Jake Robinson are part of an organization that wants to ensure this doesn't happen. It's called Counterculture Coffee.
Counterculture's pillars of sustainability, if you will, are fiscal, environmental, and social sustainability. And those 3 tenets really are what provide us with these long-lasting relationships with coffee producers.
The more we work with someone, the more we can understand the give and take of that relationship, and the better buyers we can be of their coffee, and the better producers they can be for us.
To ensure the longevity of Arabica coffee beans is simple, in theory.
Oh, there are a lot of opportunities, essentially, to be more sustainable in this industry. Someone needs to spearhead it, and we might as well, you know.
Our goal to sell 100% organic coffee by 2015. We could go and buy all organic coffee tomorrow. A big part of what makes our business unique is that we have organic coffees that score very high and are very high quality and are super flavorful. So in order to do that, we have to promote these relationships, which don't just start tomorrow. They take time to curate. Organic growth is great for soil health because it implements certain nutritional elements into the soil that are difficult to get from commercial fertilizers. It does make the quality of the coffee better. It makes the soil withstand certain environmental tests for longer periods of time. It's more sustainable. It just continues to promote great health for the coffee plants.
Like there are some studies that have been done on apples, for instance, where there's a 10% perceived increase in both taste and the texture of an apple. And that's really important to understand that not only is it responsible, but it benefits us as people who really value delicious coffee to invest in methods that make that coffee taste the best it possibly could. That goes from things like using like industrial agriculture and using essentially Miracle-Gro to fertilize, using NPK is a way to, in the short term, increase the nutrients these plants are getting. But in the long term, it erodes topsoil, and it's essentially it's a very short-term solution for a long-term problem. Whereas using organic fertilizers as an alternative might take longer to see the results, but the results last for the lifetime of a farm.
To ensure the highest quality of their coffee, Counterculture Coffee tastes each and every one.
It was developed as a method to taste a lot of coffees very quickly on equal footing. So for instance, if we had 100 samples on the table, we wouldn't have time to brew each one of these samples. So there are a number of different evaluations we take. We smelled the dry coffee, and then we smelled the crust of the coffee after we added the water. Next, we're gonna break this crust with a spoon and smell the coffee liquor underneath. Then we're gonna slurp the coffee with a spoon and aerate it into our palates to get every flavor this coffee has to offer.
Wolfie Barn is the coffee director for Pavement Coffee House, an independent coffee shop in Boston.
Counterculture produces, or they roast really, really awesome coffee. They work directly with producers from all over the place to get just a really high, consistent quality.
So the difference between how Starbucks and Folgers and Dunkin' Donuts do their thing is that when you buy a Guatemalan coffee from Starbucks, for instance, it's a mix of all of the coffee they bought from Guatemala. And when your demand is so huge, that just means that you buy a lot of really good coffee and you buy a lot of really bad coffee, and you have to mix it all together and roast it very darkly so no one can tell the difference. Having demand that's so vast that you can't just buy good coffee is definitely a danger in being a giant company like that. It's not bubbling like that, it's not fresh. So if you put a few ounces of water under your coffee, it doesn't like churn up like that. It means it doesn't have any gas left in it, which means it's stale.
I think Counterculture is kind of a nice size in that it's big enough to have the buying power to get some really amazing coffees at good prices, but not so big that it has trouble getting enough coffee at a high enough quality.
And we're getting people to realize that this is worth it, that this like really excellent coffee experience is the one they should be going for. Once people decide that this experience is worth it, that's where they kind of stop considering that realm of coffee and start to consider ours. So for the true believers, then that's just not an option anymore. You have to drink counterculture coffee or specialty coffee.